guess.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been really busy, which is great.
That's
and
good.
I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi because I've been having issues with contact, and I think I'm breaking up. Maybe one quick second.
Sure, absolutely.
Do this on the back. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, I can see you, but I can't. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay. Is that by design or by? All right, we are live.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going to. Yeah. Oh, there you are. Okay. Cool. I just turned my Wi-Fi off, so.
Okay, cool. So you're better connected.
Today.
Exciting. So hi, I'm Bethany Quinn, and I'm here live with Stephanie Kara Jordan. And we're going to chat about how she's doing and recruiting. And I've switched recipes a few times this morning because definitely do not have the stuff that I need to make multiple things I was planning to make. So I am going to be making Brazilian cheese bread, pão de queijo, which are these cute little balls of deliciousness that are very popular in Brazil. So that's going to be the adventure this morning. And Stephanie's going to, tell us all kinds of good tips about job hunting and such. So how are you? You said things are busier, actually, or are busy.
Yeah. So I'm in an position where my company is still hiring. My company, what our product is actually pretty relevant to the supply chain, so relevant to COVID, which is good for us. But it's also even before this whole thing happened, it was actually a pretty relevant product. So, so I'm still hiring. However, we're only hiring for right now. I'm only hiring for our German office because we're doing a lot of tech roles. Those are all in Germany. So, again, I've been actually pretty busy, which is good. And I'm also part of our people operations team, so working on a lot of projects there, especially around COVID. My company, is office-based, which I actually prefer. And so we had to go from office-based teams in 3 different markets to completely distributed. And so that's been an adventure, as well as we were still already implementing a lot of stuff around company culture and hiring practices. So now it's like a pivot of doing this while also dealing with the COVID crisis, getting our employees switched over, dealing with even things like people's wellness and mental health. It's been a lot. I've been doing a lot of research in COVID, which is actually pretty draining, so I try to limit it, but that is actually part of my role right now. So it's a new frontier for us in the recruiting and people operations world.
So tell me a little bit more, because I don't remember, what exactly does your company do?
Yeah, so we offer an AI-based supply chain solution. So if you know anything about supply chain, basically it streamlines the sourcing process. So sourcing, let's say a client like Audi, and they're trying to find axles for production. What it would do is using basically automated Boolean, put that search term out there, and then aggregate with suppliers who offer that product by cost, by location, contact information, everything down to whether they where they sit on an ethical scale or sustainability scale or diversity scale. So it's pretty cool.
Wow.
And so usually this sort of thing, it's done manually. It can take months, and with our product, it actually takes. So
can take what?
Pretty relevant with supply chain.
How quickly can it take?
Yeah, it's an interesting product.
Very cool. How quickly? You said it usually takes months, but with your product, it takes how long?
It can take days to weeks.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
Exciting, but important to keep that going. So, So tell me, how did you get into recruiting? Because you actually, I feel like every time I talk to you, you have a new and exciting job. Because I know you worked for.
I fell into it.
Yeah. So how did you get into recruiting?
Yeah, so I fell into it. It was kind of a combination of the summer of 2015. I was actually unemployed. I had been working for a startup before, and that startup actually folded. And so I was working as a sales, this development capacity there. So it was really I'm looking for a job, and I'm looking for anything. I was working part-time in a coffee shop, and I'd actually never done anything remotely close to recruiting before.
But you're a very social person with a great network, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of people just fall into recruiting. interesting enough, it's not something you study in school. I mean, it's HR, but HR is different from recruiting. So I applied for the role. I literally applied for the role on a whim, and it was at that point a coordinator role. And my hiring manager really liked my experience. I've been in hospitality, I've done the sales, I've been startups, and then brought me on. And then I quickly started to learn and grow and moved into a full recruiting role. So
very cool.
I was there for 4.5 years and then left there in November and started, actually, the end of October, and started my role at Scout Lead pretty quickly. And that was a whirlwind in the sense of I literally got my offer letter, I think, on like the 29th of October, and then flew to Germany for training that fall at Sunday. So I guess that was like, I think it was like November 3rd. It was November 3rd, yeah. So this is completely different from what I was doing before, going from a corporate structure to startup structure where I actually am part of the process and I am part of, building out, everything that comes to operations and, culture and everything. So it's exciting. Like, it's definitely different. It's going from corporate to startup. And for me, getting to, I have a lot of autonomy here, which is great, but it's also like, all right, it's all on you. But I really like it.
Nice.
Doing recruiting and also in the HR operations stuff. So it's been an interesting adventure.
Nice. That's good. Well, so you got into that. So what exactly, talk to me a little bit more about the typical recruiting process in your experience. And actually part of what I'm wondering is for job seekers who are looking to get hired, what are some of the best things you think they can do to tap into this process?
So it's interesting because recruiting is an evolving field. And it depends on, what your work. So I've always been an internal or corporate recruiter, which means I, as part of the company, recruit directly for the company. I'm not an external recruiter. But there's also external recruiting or staffing or search firms. And what they are is they are contracted with the company, either at a retained or contingent basis. And they are recruiting candidates, either work in a staffing element, so temporarily, or again, direct hire. And so it can be very competitive. And one thing that I think is really starting to become more prevalent is looking at recruiting from a people or cultural aspect. A lot of times there are recruiters who see recruiting like it's a matter of maybe it's a sale, it's making a sale, but not necessarily looking at the human aspect of what do these people really want? What do they actually looking for? It's like, there's a lot of, I'd say sometimes recruiters don't know how to human, which drives me crazy because we get a bad rap because of that.
Right.
So a candidate side, it is, again, it's varied, and it also depends on the job market, especially now where we're in a market where this is unprecedented, where a lot of companies are downsizing, they're doing layoffs, they're doing furloughs, and it's just across the board. So, always I would say from a candidate experience, for me, it's all about building a relationship with my candidates. I stay in communication with them. I'm transparent. Treat them with respect. Move them through the process. Even mentor, not so much mentor them, but coach them. Everything I can do to make them have the best experience possible, and make them feel like a part of something big. Make them feel special, and that doesn't always happen. So right now in this environment, again, it's scary, and I think for a lot of people, again, a lot of industries have basically been wiped out. If you work in any sort of role that is, has anything to do with being, and people oriented, or serving others, and public facing, it is really, really hard. But that doesn't mean that there aren't roles out there. There are a lot of companies that hire remotely. There's adapting to our new world, what there actually is need for. So I would say for a candidate is don't silo yourself. Really look at what your skills are. Like I mentioned, I had never done anything with recruiting before, but I had marketable skills, transferable skills. I had phone presence. I worked in hospitality, so customer service was one of them. Having phone presence, being very intuitive and listening. I had done sales. Again, there is an element of selling in recruiting where you are trying to sell someone onto your job. So being proactive and just looking what's out there and looking realistically, and rephrase it, realistically looking at can my skills transfer over, and then advocating for yourself on, okay, if I'm applying for a job where I don't have experience, in your cover letter, which I always look cover letters, but they are important, hey, I don't have this skill set, but this is how I can bring value. Actually, how you can bring value to a company. It's about selling yourself. It's not about, okay, I want this job. It's what can I do to help this company grow? How can I do to improve process? On the flip side, we're looking for someone who's like, okay, we want someone who has that skill set and we want to woo them. Like, up until recently, I actually would say the candidate market. Like, there were roles I was working on was definitely a lot more difficult to fill because there were so many candidates out there and they were getting bombarded with recruiters. And so it's very competitive. I guess it's so competitive. So it's that back and forth of what can I bring to the table and then advocating for yourself what you can bring to the table. And I will say there's also patience there. A lot of people say, oh, well, the recruiter ghosted me, or I never applied and never heard from them, and this on the other, or like, things change. And like, it's on the back end, it can be twisty turning. Like, there are times where I'm posting a job, but I'm getting so many applications that it's very difficult to go through all of them. And like every job I've worked, it's just me. Like, I've never had a coordinator, I've never had a sourcer. It's like I've worked with a team, obviously, but like if I'm getting like 100 applications, I have to sort through them manually. Or like, oh yeah, the ATS parses them out. Like, no, it actually doesn't. It does not do that.
Yeah.
I will get every application, no matter how unqualified or too qualified or just right they are. So I had to manually go through them, and then other recruiters, other companies, they may have like someone to do that for them. But like it can take a while. Another thing is dealing with the hiring team, with hiring managers who have a set idea, but it may change. Requirements may change. We are working with a budget, with salary, which is one of the big, scary conversations. Which I actually do think people could advocate for themselves, but like I literally have a budget. Like, and sometimes there is no wiggle room with that budget. So keep things like that in mind. Someone can be a technical fit, but not a cultural fit, which again is, I would say, you got to be careful with that one, especially when it comes to diversity hiring, where you say cultural fit, but then cultural fit is homogenous, where it's like, okay, everybody's startup bro, everybody comes from the same school, same bracket, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a little trickiness there, but I would say more about soft skills. Like if you're someone who's unpleasant to work with, or as maybe attitude or something that like, okay, we're hopefully not going to hire someone who like
is an asshole,
doesn't fit in that aspect. But soft skills are everything. And so sure. What I do is I do the initial phone screens of the interviews, and then I put them in front of my hiring managers, and then they determine if they want to move forward. Or sometimes I do, and then they kind of walk through the process. But even then, like they can be crazy busy. They have a lot of projects. They are actually working. Like they're not just the hiring managers. They are working. They're trying to put someone on their team, which is the big thing for me, that it can be so hard because sometimes I get, okay, yeah, we really need someone. Work on this quickly. Like I need ASAP. And then when I start putting candidates in front of them, it's like cricket. So, those are things that like we're kind of running up against. And even things like, need changes where it can pivot. Like I've worked on roles and getting close to final offer or final stages. And then all of a sudden like, well, we don't need this role anymore. It's not a priority. Something else is a priority. Or again, they just like, it's just really a lot of moving parts. So the element of please be patient. I do know that, sometimes they're not as communicative. And even I can work on this. Like I would say for me, applicants, like I am only going to respond to applicants I want to move forward with. Unfortunately, especially I have a high volume. I will send forth like a turn down email, but I'm not really going to engage with every applicant who applies. Going forward, though, like once I'm talking to someone, I'm going to do my best to keep them in the loop, communicating with them. Sometimes there's an element of like, I don't have any sort of update for you. I really don't have anything, and not ghosting you. And I'll do touch base, like, hey, just to give you a heads up what's going on. But sometimes it really is like, I'm not trying to ghost you. I definitely I'm just trying to keep everything in place and also like give you the correct information. Like that happens. Like if I'm a hiring manager, I'm waiting for them. Like, there's times like it can be hard, especially depending how much I have on my plate. So being organized is something that's very important to me. But again, like I will say a lot of times, like it's not you, it's us. It's not you, it's us.
Right.
What's going on? We're trying our best, but there can be sometimes things fall through the crack. But sometimes it really is like we're trying to figure out what's going on. Like even things like they go with an internal candidate, like or decide that there needs to change. I mean, there's so much going on that again, it's not saying, okay, just don't, that's what says don't think about yourself, because obviously, especially since people looking for a job, like it's something that's very important for you. But again, like with companies, it's just like a lot of moving parts there. So being patient, being proactive, selling yourself. And I also think, again, taking the initiative, this one also could be tricky, taking the initiative to reach out. And I say this in the sense of reaching out to me cold. I'm probably not going to respond, but if there's a job I have open and you see it, after you applied, like that's when they reach out cold. Like after you apply, reach out to me and I'll talk to you. I'll connect. Like I like when people do that, but again, only after they've applied. Like sometimes people try to circumvent the recruiting process, or like, oh, I see a job, I'm going to reach out to the hiring manager directly. Like,
right.
Sometimes that works. Sometimes it's just like you are trying to bypass all the steps, and that's not really like
that
cool. Can come back to like bite you in the butt. So I think again, if you applied, reach out to me after you applied. Again, sometimes if they reach out to the hiring manager, they'll tell you, hey, this person to speak to, and again, try to sell yourself. Like my favorite candidate, she actually did this. I ended up hiring her where she applied and she talked to me like, hey, I applied for this. Hey, I don't have all those skills, so this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. And she ended up being one of our best employees. So like really selling yourself and like showing what you can bring to the table is really big. But also I think having reasonable expectations about what if qualifications for this role, or if you're really the right fit. And again, it's a tightrope of like being communicative, but also not being obnoxious.
Right.
I've had this happen before where it's like reaching out, sending out, multiple like check-ins, or like, not necessarily accepting like this is not going to be the role for them.
Right.
Or like, again, the thing, it just really drives me crazy. It's like going over my head, or going over other people's head. And then it becomes a thing like, well, why did you talk to this person? They reached out to me. It's like, actually I did. And, that's something that bugs me. So being diplomatic is another one. Doing your research. Do your research on the company. Do your research on your role to the best of your capabilities. That goes a long way. I would say a lot of times we are looking for someone who is going to be a permanent hire. And this is something in this environment where it is a thing with people are coming to roles and they're looking for a stepping stone, which I agree with, but they're not so looking to stay. And there is an element of like people don't want to give loyalty to a company because companies will, drop on a whim. I get that. I think it's a tricky. It's like a tricky path where, again, if I'm hiring someone, I want someone who will want to stay, but we can invest in and help them grow. I don't necessarily want someone who, they're going to leave in a year.
Right.
At minimum, and even when I'm recruiting people, it's like I try to see people who've been with their company for a year or 2 years, or they've been in their role for like not so much like 3 or 4 years, but you can see the progress in their growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this two-way street. A lot of this is this two-way street where like we need to be cognizant of what tenants are looking for, but they also need to recognize that like, okay, there's a lot of elements at play. Like I like helping people. I like putting them in the role, but it needs to be a role that's the right fit. I don't want to hire just to hire. So it's like if it's someone who I don't think is engaged, or I don't think really who doesn't really want to work for the company and doesn't want to, that's like I don't necessarily want to engage with them. But also knowing people need jobs. Like sometimes I can put someone in there, like if you're showing interest and I think that you'll, even if you know nothing about the industry, know nothing about the company, but I think that you're willing to put in work, and I'm fine with that. It's just, we can find that balance. It's more like looking like, what do you really, really want? And I want someone who's going to be happy in the role. I want someone who's going to be, excited and happy about the company, who is going to do their best, but also, again, keeping in mind that they don't want to feel like they're being used by the company. They don't want to feel like they're just a disposable. Like, I guess it also is industry dependent, but it's complex. It's really super complex on both ends, on my end and their end as well.
Yeah. So what is, let's see. So, what was I going to ask? So what types of roles you said, I think you mentioned briefly, you said you're mostly recruiting in Germany right now, right?
Yeah.
Or for the German office.
Yeah.
Got it. Mm-hmm. What types of roles does your company recruit for most often?
So it's interesting with my company, even going back to my last company, it depends. For startups, a lot of times it's sales and marketing, and the tech roles are big, which is what I'm working right now, which is interesting because I have very little tech background. background, and this is one of the reasons I did well in my last job is I put in the effort to learn, and even as the very basics of it, I can at least have a conversation with my candidates, like get them to the hiring manager stage.
Sure.
So, and that's something I recommend, like doing research on, frameworks on what does this role actually do, what the expectations are usually around for them, understanding the role. So, at my last job, because I was an internal recruiter, I actually worked on a lot of recruiting recruiters. I recruit the recruiters, and I also worked on sales roles, and again, some miscellaneous like operational roles, and again, the random like tech roles. Like I worked on a data science role, I worked on software engineers, like analysis, marketing analysis, campaign managers. So it varies. Some recruiters are niche specific, where this person only works in healthcare, this person works in sales recruiting, this person works in legal recruiting, this person works in like specific industries. Like they may only work in like they might only work in like manufacturing or trucking or et cetera, which is where kind of get into issues where there's industries that are on downturn. Well, then the recruiters have nothing to fill. So I think being versatile is important. But yeah, like sales and marketing and design and tech roles have been where I've been my bread and butter. So, and that's what I'm working on now. A lot of our tech roles, which has been good. It's a great learning experience for me. It's remarkable skill.
Cool. Very cool. That's exciting. So outside of work, and this is one of the things that just like was so fascinating to me a while back, because I feel like it speaks to your versatility and just brilliance and awesomeness as a person. But you, first of all, you, before all of this went down, you hosted monthly happy hours in different locations all over the city, which was super fun.
Yeah.
But you also worked at, the Game of Thrones bar. How did you get into that?
Yes. So it was like I needed a side hustle that summer, and oh my gosh, I think someone shared. So I'm in industry group for theater and bartending. So it was one of those groups. Someone shared it, and it was like,
nice.
Okay, well, originally I wanted to be bartending, but I was like, I didn't have as much experience there. So they're like, well, we can hire for a door host. And basically, I've been a restaurant hostess, and so this was like a mix of hosting, but also like security. Like it was hilarious.
Right.
We were monitoring the lines. We were checking IDs. We were, making sure that people were, not acting out, because those, as you all know, those lines could get long.
The Game of Thrones line were like around the corner, and
people were very excited, but yeah, and like people don't like waiting in lines. Like I don't like waiting in lines.
Right.
It's like you could have like 2 or 3 hour long waits. Like monitoring time. There's times it's one in, one out. Because especially because I work Sundays. This is a fun one. People being intoxicated was a big one. Like if they were to a certain point, we weren't going to let them in.
Yeah.
Monitoring people drinking in line, which is one of the hard, because then it was open container. Like people would do it anyway, but that was like really had to be careful with that one, because we could lose their license. Like if someone was caught like drinking outside, and then also they could get arrested for not to open containers.
So it's bad when people get arrested.
That. Yeah, we kind of took it. All right, so I see you have something. You can throw it away. Yeah. And no harm, no foul. But it's like, it's still coming in when you're in. You can't come in here. Or, hey, I see that you're maybe not in the best shape. You've been a little tipsy.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe you have something to eat or drink, and your friends can get you something. But if you are like
if you're like this when you get to the front of the line, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. And people hated waiting, and line jumpers. Like it was something like being very diplomatic and patient, and nice, and also like hyping people up, because it was very exciting. So that was quite the role.
Cool, nice. And so now, like, how are you adapting to this insanity and shit show that is COVID?
I think it's daily. So one thing, because for my team in particular, the same thing with my last role, I've always been on a remote team, in the sense of I work in a certain market, but my particular team is distributed. My team is primarily based in Berlin and Germany. At my last role, we were spread. So I was in DC, and then I had colleagues who worked who were like in Atlanta, who were in, all over the place. So I'm used to it, but a lot of other people are not. So it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve. The big thing is like keeping everyone feeling connected and communicative and feeling that they're being heard. I mean, this is not an ideal situation for anybody.
Right.
Especially when it comes to things like, all right, well, we're all working from offices, and I'm looking at since that, well, I live alone, which is its own thing. It's like, it's great, it's also not great. But
yeah,
I have a space. I have, the ability to set up anywhere. I actually have pretty much all of my equipment here, with the exception of a desk, which I tried to put together, and it just didn't work. So now I'm actually like using like a TV table and then also like a high top chair in my working area. But it works for me. But I have colleagues who have kids. I have colleagues who have roommates. I have colleagues who live with family. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And so people feeling engaged and like we're listening to them and connected and like trying to adapt to this really difficult time. So a lot of it is day by day, but if you're saying like I have so many webinars and classes coming up on how, okay, how we're going to distribute teams, how are you going to get your team onboarded, how are you going to engage, how are you going to deal with things like mental health.
Yeah.
It is so hard on everybody. It is just relentlessness because like what I do, I get up in the morning, I go to work, and then I usually work out between work, and then I, do whatever I want, but I do it all in the house. That is such a hard thing. Not being able to go to an office, not going to meet with my friends, not like all of that.
Yeah.
So,
and you're such an extrovert, right? Like,
yeah. It's so that's something we're really like as we're going along. Like, so how do we, help our employees feel like they're making this transition well? Another thing, and it's going to sound awful, but I actually don't like working remote. I actually prefer to be in the office. Obviously this company to company, but one thing for us is like it really is about communication, like constant communication, constant check-in, constant, keeping people on track, seeing we're on projects, which can sometimes be very hard with remote working. It really can. And again, it's something that you have to have the structure in place to make sure that it's going well. As a company that had that up to then set it to be primarily office space. Like, okay, well, that's something we got to implement in there. And people like seeing each other. Like, people like being, like, we were very much a collaborative team. We were very much like people, I wasn't just like hung out at night, but like, people were friendly, we'd have lunch together, like all of that's gone now. So that's like recreating that culture, but recreating it at a virtual or online remote level has been a challenge. It's something we're really trying to work on. Employee engagement.
So, are you doing any like remote happy hours, or what are some of the ways that you're working on it?
Yeah, so we do we do remote coffee breaks, remote lunches, we're doing remote happy hours. On both of my team in the States and also my team, in Germany. It's funny because we have this like time difference. So it's like, all right. So when like in Germany, when they're doing happy
10 a.m. cocktails.
Yeah, it's like, I guess I can have a mimosa, but we're doing things like that. We got a Slack channel set up. We were trying this thing called Donut where people can kind of get partners with other people and like, all right, well, we buy today, like, which that has something that like, we're working on. And again, a lot of it is like, all right, we're learning this all on the fly because we're not a distributed company that already had these processes set in place. We are learning to like stay connected, like finding team building activities, just again trying to engage with each other in the situation that is less than ideal. That's work in progress. That's what we're working towards.
Yeah, absolutely. And how much of the recruitment work that you did was remote before versus like in person? Because I imagine, like when possible, you would probably want to meet with people in person, right?
Yes, and again, this is unique for me, I would say. So my last job, primarily, I almost never recruited for DC. I actually always recruited for other markets, so it's something I was used to. So that's where it came with the communication. So a lot of like I would do phone screens with video calls with my hiring managers, set up the interviews, set up the on-site. I was all setting that up remotely, so I'm used to it. This company, again, so I've always worked on both roles in Berlin and roles in the States for DC office. So it was a mix where I was doing like, usually we would actually do a lot of the interview process online. So initial phone calls, initial video calls, initial interviews up until final steps. And then we would bring them to the office. So, I would meet people in person, but it kind of gets to the final stage to actually meet them in person rather than like kind of jumping off into that. But other companies are different. Other companies, they have their initial phone screen, and have you come in and do it in person and then maybe come back. But we try to cut down on that. We don't want people coming in back and forth.
Sure.
But same thing in Berlin. They had the same process where like the initial calls would be video up until the last set, and then they would do everything like have you come in and meet the team. Sometimes the matter of you're going to do like not gauntlet style, but like, team, interviews, like you're interviewing with, different team members throughout the day. Some people have to have lunch with them. They want to keep it as simple as possible, like cut down as many steps as possible is the goal. So, I'm used to both. I'm used to both. I'm actually not used to doing an actual like first interview with in person. It's like, okay, how do I keep my notes? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
used to typing all of my notes. So that's an interesting transition for me. But we want to have as much personal touch as possible.
Sure. So then just what have you been watching anything online or whatever? Netflix, Hulu?
Oh yeah. I'm glad because a lot of my shows that I have been watching are back.
Nice.
Actually, I don't necessarily binge in ways that other people binge. I've been watching like shows I used to watch. But yeah, shows that I have been watching, like right now I've been watching Little Fires Everywhere, because I'm actually 2 episodes behind. Actually, almost 3 episodes behind, so I have to actually just binge that. I watch Insecure, which just came back, which is one of my favorite shows. It's
Nice.
So funny. How to Do With Murder has been one of my shows I've been watching forever, and unfortunately it's actually ending.
Did they ever get over the whole, like, we're super paranoid about getting caught and, like, that's 90% of the dialogue thing? Because I watched that through, like, season 2 or 3.
You spoke up on me, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. So did they ever get over, I used to watch How to Get Away with Murder, but like season 3 or so, I felt like 90% of the dialogue was like them freaking out about the potential of getting caught. Did that ever improve? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, did you hear me? Or did I still break up?
I mean, now I'm not going to spoil anything because they're in the final season, so season 6 in the final season. But
got it.
Yeah, I hear you now. You're breaking up, but yeah, in the final season, everything's coming to head.
Okay.
Everything's kind of like, oh, all right.
But were they still freaking out? Because I felt like there was a stretch where like 90% of the dialogue in the show was like, oh my God, we're going to get caught. Stop freaking out about getting caught. Like,
yep.
It's still that?
They're still freaking out about getting caught.
Okay. Just checking.
Still trying to get away with murder. We are trying to get away with murder.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. Totally. Awesome. Yeah. Well, anything else you wanna put out there before we hang up?
Yeah, I mean, so again, this is a scary, tricky market, scary, tricky time. There are a lot of resources out there for candidates. There's a lot of things called layoff lists. And I shared one, but there are a lot of layoff lists for on the recruiting side. Candidates, we get internal candidates put down, where they're located, what they're looking for, etc. It'd be really helpful for people in the job market because they can see what's out there. I keep an eye on LinkedIn. I think, and I realize that someone who lives on LinkedIn, not everybody is engaged in LinkedIn, but I think LinkedIn right now, from the candidate side, is their biggest tool. Update your LinkedIn profile. There's an option to put on, like, called Beacon. We put an option where, like, you're looking for opportunities, and then you can even elaborate, like, what opportunities you're looking for, the markets you're looking within. So please update your LinkedIn profile.
Okay, great.
So we can find you. Use a lot of search terms to find people like that. And there are hashtags on LinkedIn. You can find now hiring, still hiring. Searching via hashtags you can do from your markets. There actually is a tab where it's companies that are hiring. Google companies are hiring. Google that and then search it actually. Because you will find now a lot of companies are advertising. There's a lot of lists. I currently work in tech startup type of capacity, so I see a lot of lists for startups. But you can find this. It's scary right now, but there are opportunities out there, and there are ways to find those opportunities. So I keep on being proactive. Just be proactive. Reach out, tap into your own network. You never know, who's hiring and may not be able to connect you with someone. Even before it's tap into your own network. Leverage your friends. Leverage on LinkedIn. Just try to keep engaged. And I'm not going to say keep your head up and keep your hope up because that's cheesy, and this is a very serious time. And I don't want to feel like I'm being
of course, but still,
do the best you can in the best you're feeling the best of your capabilities. But there's a lot out there that can be utilized.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. It was great chatting with you. Hopefully, I'll see you on some of these remote happy hours one of these days. And have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Thanks to you.